Let's look now to one of our top stories tonight, which is a shooting that has taken place in Finetown, claiming 7 lives. Calls mounting for authorities to increase security, in particular for informal traders. We're joined now by the Informal Economy Development Forum Secretary General Paul Bester. Paul, good evening to you. Thanks for your time tonight. Firstly, let's just talk about what we understand to have happened in as far as this shooting is concerned. Of course, very serious, especially for informal traders.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. Yes, what we have heard this morning, waking up to the very, very shocking, shock news that we've heard, is that there was traders yesterday evening, as you said, in Finetown, Annandale area, busy selling chicken feet and sisinyama, and they were approached by 4 men, and these men were trying to rob them. As a normal citizen would do, these guys stand together and fended off this attack on them. These guys returned with more than, they were 4 at the time, but they returned more than 4 as we understand, this time armed with firearms on foot, and actually just shot at will with a mass murder happening right there. And as you rightly say, we heard that 11 people shot and 7 has passed away. And this is that where we are currently now. No suspects has been arrested as far as we understand from the police, but 7 people lost their life in a tragic accident that could have been avoided.
Interesting that you would have, informal traders who are, of course, trading in goods that aren't necessarily high-end goods, Paul. So there is a limit in terms of how much money perhaps they would make on a day-to-day basis. Why would they be targets? What is part of your understanding of what's going on here?
I think we need to understand, and we don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to talk at length at it, but we do need to understand that crime and drug use is taking over South Africa. We've seen with so many other attacks here in Western Cape, with the same now happening in Gauteng, these kind of attacks that's happening where people are 6, 7, and 8 are shot at one time. And I think the guys in the drug users and people wanting to rob have really no regard for life. They want to steal, if it's 50 Rand, 100 Rand, or 20,000 Rand, as long as they steal something that can sort of, fund their drug abuse, they don't really mind. And, I mean, we understand that the people went to steal the money, to rob them of whatever they had, and maybe the extra 200 or 300 Rand, and that would have been enough for last night. Unfortunately, it took a turn for the worst. And we're sitting today with 7 families without breadwinners. There's fathers, mothers, and children whose only income was that of the informal economy and the formal traders. And that has been taken away from them. And we've been talking so many times to the city of Joburg and to all the other municipalities that in the event you are selling permits and you're wanting people to be permit and take out permits and be organized, yet the side from the municipality side, safety and security is not being looked at. And as a matter of fact, we see now the outcome of that lack of safety and security on the ground.
Paul, that's of course part of what is concerning here, is that informal traders are incredibly vulnerable to the elements, because they're setting up shop along the sidewalk, often in areas where there's very little security or policing, unless it's established in highly commercial centers where you would have your corporate companies that are actually paying for private security to do patrols. Yes. They're really left to fend for themselves.
That is very true. And when you say they are left to fend for themselves, they're only also, under the auspice of whatever safety and security the municipality or district municipality is that they work in. And we also have seen that there's a huge issue in the South African police and in the municipal and city police and metro police currently, where it's understaffed, overworked. We've heard investigations that's going to be done by the police for criminal or police joining and siding with the criminals and gangs. So it's a very big issue, and we've asked the government through the Department of Small Business Development to really look at rewriting bylaws that will look not only to protect the people on the ground and the municipalities, but also the traders and the informal economy themselves. A serious look needs to be done in the bylaws as we see it today. We feel and we are believing that the bylaws are very, very old, they're outdated, and they don't look and cater for South Africa as it currently is. We are going through a spate of crime, as you all know, and the bylaws and the city laws that is there, is some of them as old as 1994. I always tell people some of the bylaws that we are still enforcing today was prior the Zuma administration. That's long ago. And it cannot be relevant and safe for people to still hook and invoke that kind of a bylaws whilst we are in a situation in South Africa after COVID. So this is really, normally traders would have closed shop at 5, 6 o'clock because of the dangers, but COVID has brought a situation that you need to now, make money as much as possible to build your business and to look after your family. And this has now occurred that at 10 o'clock at night, informal traders vulnerable with only themselves and what they sell on the road has been, they become victims of crime and unfortunately also suffered a mass murder last night.
All right, Paul Bester, we'll leave it there for tonight. He is with the Informal Economy Development Forum and he's the Secretary General there.